Over the next decade or so, the American economy is staring down the barrel of one of the biggest handovers in its entire history. We're talking about a massive, seismic shift in wealth and business ownership. So today, we're going to crack open the State of Owner Readiness report to figure out who's ready for this and, well, who might just be left in the dust. Okay, let's just start with this number, because it's a big one. $14 trillion. That's the mind-boggling amount of wealth that's all tied up in privately held businesses, and it's all set to change hands by 2033. This isn't just about money moving around, it's about the transfer of power, of legacy. It's the very engine of the U.S. economy we're talking about. But here it is, right? The multi-trillion-dollar question. With this massive, inevitable exit on the horizon for millions of business owners, are they actually prepared for it? Well, it turns out the data shows a huge, gaping chasm between what people plan to do and what they're actually doing. And it all breaks down along some pretty surprising generational lines.
To really get what's going on here, we need to meet the key players in this whole economic drama. We've got three distinct generations at the wheel of American business right now. And believe me, each one brings a completely different playbook, a different set of values to the table. First up, you've got the baby boomers, who the report calls the titans. These are the folks who built their companies from scratch, valuing stability and success above all else. Then there's Generation X, the bridge, who are all about autonomy and that ever-elusive work-life balance. And finally, you have the millennials, the serial entrepreneurs, a generation driven by purpose, collaboration, and just constant growth. And look, these aren't just little personality quirks. These are fundamentally different reasons for owning a business in the first place.
And this is where we get to the central irony of this entire report. The baby boomers, the generation that's literally right at the finish line holding the keys to so many of these companies, they are, by a long shot, the least prepared for their own exit. So let's break down why that is. The report uses this really simple but honestly brilliant framework to measure just how ready someone is. It's called the Readiness Stool. And it's a fantastic way to visualize what it actually takes to be prepared for business transition. So the stool has 3 legs. Simple enough, right? The first is personal readiness. Basically, do you have any idea who you are after the business is gone? What's your purpose? Second, financial readiness. Pretty straightforward. Do you have your financial house in order for what's next? And third, business readiness. Is the company itself actually attractive and ready for someone new to take over? The thing is, if any one of those legs is wobbly, the whole stool just collapses. Okay, so let's get to the juicy part, the report card. We're going to see how each generation scored themselves on those 3 legs of the stool. And, well, the results are pretty eye-opening.
First up, personal readiness. Millennials are feeling pretty confident about what comes next, scoring a 4.4 out of 6. Gen X, they're right there in the middle. But look at the boomers, lagging way behind with a 3.51. For a generation whose entire identity is so often tied to their life's work, they seem to be the least sure about who they'll be when that work is done. And if you're wondering why that score is so low, get this. A staggering 87% of boomers have no personal plan for what comes next. Only a quarter of them have actually written down any goals for their next chapter in life. I mean, this isn't just a lack of planning. The report calls it a recipe for profound regret.
Next up, let's look at financial readiness. And it's the same pattern all over again. Millennials are leading the pack in confidence, while the boomers score the lowest. This is absolutely critical, because even though they're the closest to retirement, they're the least certain their finances are actually ready for it. That's a huge roadblock to any kind of exit. And the trend holds true for the final leg, business readiness. Millennials lead, boomers trail. I mean, at this point, the data is crystal clear. Personal, financial, and business readiness, all 3 legs of the boomer's stool are dangerously wobbly. This slide really shows us why their businesses just aren't ready. Fewer than half have had any formal education on exit planning. Only 35% have bothered with a recent valuation. And the most shocking number on here? A tiny 5% have a formal exit planning team in place. Just 5%. And all this leads to what the report calls the boomer paradox. And it's a doozy. On the one hand, a majority of boomer owners, 58%, say they plan to sell within the next 5 years. But on the other hand, almost none of them, remember that 5%, have taken the most basic first step of getting a team to help them do it. It's a massive disconnect between their goal and their reality. The report really doesn't mince words about this. It puts it bluntly right here. For the thousands of owners who are behind schedule, the window for action is closing fast. The urgency here could not be clearer.
So, what does this all mean for the future? Well, this readiness gap isn't just a simple planning problem. The data is really pointing to a fundamental shift in the whole definition of entrepreneurship, a move away from just success and towards something more like significance.
What we're really seeing here isn't just that boomers are unprepared, it's about a whole new entrepreneurial mindset that's taking hold, driven by Gen X and especially by millennials who just see the entire purpose of owning a business in a completely different light. And this new mindset is captured perfectly by this one concept, the boomerang exit. For younger owners, selling a company isn't the finish line. Nope. It's a liquidity event that just fuels the next big idea. The plan is to build, sell, and reinvest, not once, but multiple times over a career.
And this, right here, this slide brilliantly illustrates the two competing philosophies. The boomer titan was all about success, building one great business to last a lifetime. But the millennial serial entrepreneur is aiming for significance, building transferable value that can be unlocked and then poured right into the next big thing.
So when you really zoom out, you start to see that this isn't just a story about spreadsheets and exit plans. It's a generational story about what we value. It's about a massive shift in our ideas about work, about life, and about the kind of legacy we all want to leave behind.
And all of that leaves us with this one fascinating question for the future of work. As this $14 trillion handover actually happens, which philosophy is going to win out? Is a business something you build for a lifetime, or is a lifetime something you build on many businesses? The answer to that is going to shape our economy for decades to come.